spend a lot of time in my garden, so it really looks attractive. But I haven't done anything since 1948.
Your previous, before the aerial photography, were you at 2.5 baths? Was it, I mean, did they have...
Oh, yeah, those are the 2.5 baths. I fell into
but
that house. I married into it.
No, I'm sorry, the information was correct prior to the aerial photography?
Correct.
So this is the first time you saw the change? Okay. And did you correct the information?
I did.
Okay.
But I mean, but that's really sort of sad that someone says, look, you have 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. I'm saying, what? I mean, where did they come up with that? Just because from the road it looks nice, or from the sky it looks nice? And it does look nice, but I mean, it doesn't have what they say.
Sure.
So I felt really, I felt put upon.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for coming and sharing that with us. Any comment?
General comment based upon aerial photography. We could not determine, based upon aerial photography, we could not determine bedroom or bath counts.
So how did we get it so wrong? How did she go from 2.5 to 5? Do we know? Well, again, did you have an informal? Did you have an informal meeting, or you just sent in the correct?
And it said what I had.
Okay. Well, if we could, Mitch, could you correct it? I had my fax. Could you? I'd love to find out how we made that mistake. If you had time, if you had Mr. Martin, if you could sit with Miss Sands, Miss Sands. Oh, you are great, fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? I can't see anybody, so we're ready to close? Oh, no, Mr. Sand. 5
minutes. Bring him my expert witness. 5 minutes.
All right. My fellow councilman reminded me, you got 4 minutes. All right, we got 4 minutes.
All right, no problem.
4 minutes to shoot the fish.
Yeah, this is no problem. Okay. You guys keep feeding me stuff. First of all, when Mr. Abel said deja vu, it's actually a phrase unrehearsed and uncoordinated with each other. I came to the same conclusion. Different circumstances, different people, but the bottom line is it's more errors in inventory. And you talked about dropping data. It's mind-boggling. What I'm sampling for you, I am using your own data. I'm going to your SDG NYS database that didn't come back online till halfway through the bar window on Monday, June 13th. I'm looking at aerial photographs, and by the way, I disagree with Lillian. I think the aerial photographs are excellent. You've got all kinds of angles. You don't have, Star Wars satellite, thermal heat, to know what's inside a house, which I think is what she was saying. How do they know what's in my house from an aerial? But the problem is, because of aerial photography, we could see, and it's a good thing we're not in Argentina, because we could see, patios that weren't shown, that were, on Hillendale from 2006, brand new construction, and it didn't show up, but it does show up in the picture. It's loud and clear. So it's clear to me. I want to dispel a few myths. They did not go curbside. They did not look at the data in their own database. They did not transfer the data. And in terms of Mr. Hubert's question about cheating, the January data did not, the legal size paper that we got didn't ask about everything about your property. It gave you a list of things, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, whatever, basics. It didn't even give a fraction. If you go back and look at the 2004 mailers that came from John Watch's office, it had a very detailed sketch. It had multiple cost comparable sales, and it had very detailed data. That data wasn't transferred. That data, we want to talk about missing outbuildings. I have a tennis court. No one asked about my tennis court because I didn't have to ask about it because it's all over your database. I have a permit from '74. It's in the John Watch mailer from '04. So if John Watch knew about it, why didn't Dave Arnold know about it? Hillendale has 37 homes. 13 have pools. Only 9 showed up on the March database, the preliminary. So I had a conversation with Mr. Markowitz because I wanted to know why my pool, by the way, built in 1960, was double the value of somebody's gunite pool built in the last 10 years. And I found out it's because what the percent C&D category. And I only found out because I figured it out myself. When I had a meeting with Mr. Markowitz about a week ago, I looked at the vision appraisal form for the first time because I didn't know what you get here is different than what I get at home on the website. And I looked at a column and I said, what does C and D. Next to mine, I got a bunch of G's and 1A. I don't know. I figured average and good. I didn't know until I went home and studied a bunch of comparable, other Hillendale properties, so I figured out what it meant. My pool built in 1960 was good, and so I'm paying 75% of a $55 unit cost. A neighbor's pool that was built 10 years ago in its state-of-the-art custom gunite pool, much more expensive, is average at 60%. So he's paying $33 a foot, and I'm paying $40-something a foot. So that's the... When I discussed with Mr. Markowitz late April and early May, it's the pools that he lost were in the historical record cards. They're right there. Has the permit number, has the dimensions. All you got to do, a high school kid could look at that data and check it off. So you didn't lose it because people cheated. You lost it because your consultant and your staff didn't look at the data. Because if they looked at the data, they couldn't possibly miss it. So you're going to see, I'm going to be sending you things periodically just to prove, to humor you, to show you that this is not rocket science. This is in your own database. Getting back to the Vision, basically the assessor sent out a notice on March 31st. That was your, quote, annual notice evaluation. So he says it comes out in June. It came out this year on March 31st. And what it said, if I remember the statement very clearly, it said this is the value that will be shown on the June 1st roll. So it might have lulled people into complacency until they got their mail on June 2nd. I mean, a lot of them got a rude awakening. I agree with what Scott said about the comparison. I don't want to hear that Byram Ridge went down 1% from 2010 final to this year, June. I want to know why there was dramatic change in 2 months' time between March 31st and May 27th. I want to know why professionals that should have known what their work product was and had a deliverable on March 31st, why they didn't get it right the first time using the same data. There was no revelation. There was no new information. Getting hearsay anecdotal commentary from a few people, including even the mayor of Rybrook, means nothing if you don't have the data to back it up. And I guarantee you don't have the data to back it up. I just want to follow up on the 100% market value. I don't get that. Is this a zero-sum game where the whole market stays within a certain market cap, but there's got to be winners and losers? So for every person that goes down, someone's got to go up. And that's my theory about the Byram Ridge. We're giving people reductions between March and May, so we got to get it somewhere. Let's make it up in the Byram Ridge area. The other thing that's confusing, so that's what I want to have clarified, about what exactly do you mean when you say, well, each property is not at 100% market value, but the overall market is. That doesn't make any sense to me. The assessor was, quote, he said it a number of times, it's not hard to find it. It was also attributed to him in the Western News article this past Friday, where he basically says, like, the land doesn't matter, it's the total. Well, if the land doesn't matter, why did you add 20% to the land values in 120 parcel Byram Ridge? And also, if you did it, I'm holding two properties here, they're side by side, they're literally side by side. They're both the same size property. One's on Beechwood, and one's on King Street. And they're both big properties, older houses, similar, amenities. And the land values are dramatic. And when Mayor Feinstein addressed Byram Ridge, she actually referred to the R25, which is not just Byram Ridge, it also includes properties along King Street, because they might as well be in Byram Ridge. There's a property in King Street that is engulfed by Byram Ridge. It abuts 4 Lock Lane houses and 2 or more Beechwood houses. So why is that land value for comparable acreage half what the adjacent property's land in Byram Ridge is? In terms of the C&D assessment, I told you about how it's a factor, and you don't know it until you start looking at this and playing with the math. When I was meeting with the assessor and I was trying to figure out what the different categories meant, there was a column here that says that's where it has the 60 or the 75. I asked him, what does percent C&D mean? Because I was seeing it for the first time. He says, I don't know. Now, how could the assessor is getting paid to do our assessment and our role? He doesn't know what a heading on this sheet means. So if he doesn't know it, how is the general public going to know it? I went home and I figured it out because I started doing comparisons and started putting numbers into a spreadsheet. So it became very clear to me my 1960 pool was getting charged at a 40-something% cost factor instead of a brand new pool around the corner was getting charged 33%. Also, I'd like to know, when I pointed out to Mr. Markowitz that I had this error with my calculation, he didn't understand at that time, back in late April or May, what the specific reason was. And also talking about how you only got 9 out of the 13 pools. So 30% of the pools in Hillendale you missed. And they weren't missed because they weren't hidden or people were cheating. They were missed because someone didn't even look at the historical property record card from the 60s, or they didn't look at the John Watch data. And I asked, what happened to all the John Watch data from '04? Because it was very comprehensive. You might have thought maybe his overall complying with audits and whatever wasn't good. But his inventory data, by the time we got finished pummeling him publicly, me sitting with a mic at the Board of Trustees and pummeling on the data to get it right and spending countless hours to get it right, make sure acreage matched plat maps and all that, I felt we made headway. We've regressed with this reval because you've lost the data that was there. My garage was built in 1932 with my house. It's never been severed, except Vision Appraisal severed it and called it a detached garage. Now all you got to do is look at any form of your historical data, historical property record card, last year's assessment, anything you want to pick. Except you can't pick the John Watch data because you got rid of it all. You got rid of the inventory data. So I don't know how you can verify property.
Well, we didn't get rid of any data. There's no data.
You don't have it.
No, we have all the historical
Mr.
data.
Marcos told me that you didn't keep it. Like, for example, do you have all the mailers that you sent out to people back in '04 showing what their inventory was? You would have been showing my tennis court, showing my pool, showing my sheds. You don't have any of it.
Well, okay, let me have you ask your questions, and let's just...
Okay, sorry. And then the last thing is basically, my real issue here is you're starting with bad data. And I defy Mr. Arnold to tell me that he had someone go curbside and miss, for example, on King Street, as you're approaching Anderson Hill Road, there's a structure that's a barn. And this is not picking on an individual property owner, because it's probably been there since the 1800s with the house next to it. But the thing is 1.5 stories. It's got to be 20-something feet tall, and it's massive. And it's in 5 aerial photographs on your database. There's a close-up shot, photo number 8 of whatever, and it's just massive. You'd have to be blind or substantially mind-altered not to see it. And when I showed it to Mr. Markowitz, and I had him pull it up on his database, I had him go into the web and go on like the public does, I had him pull up the SDG NYAS database, he said to me, "Oh, that's not the same property." I said, "Go back 1 photo." "Oh, yeah." I mean, here's the assessor, doesn't even know his own product. And I'm not, here to slam Mitchell, except it's just so incredulous that you have someone valuing property, they don't go curbside. You can't go curbside. Mr. Carver, you live down the street from me. I had the building inspector passing by the other day, and so we were chatting. He was on the far side of Hillendale, in front of 18. He's sitting down in his car. He's not standing 6'4" like me. I said, "Mickey, look at my house. What do you see on the left-hand side of the house? Looks like a 1-story porch. What do you see in front of it? In the front of the house? Looks like a 1-story, extension of the house. What do you see on the right corner, a little setback? Looks like an open porch." I said, "What is my roof?" "Slate." "What is the siding of my house?" "Wood clapboard." These guys say it's with a curbside inspection. Not to mention, everything I just told you is on record in the HPC, the Historical Property Record Card, and it's in the John Watch data for '04. So John Watch got it right. The 1967 people got it right. These guys called my house asphalt roof, vinyl aluminum siding. They missed both 1-story structures, and they didn't see the porch on the right. And my garage, which you can't see from the street, was severed as a detached garage. and my tennis court was not listed, although it's been listed forever. Go to the historical property record card. You'll see my permit for my thing from, I think, June of 1974. So the point is, someone is not telling us the truth when they say they went curbside, and I can go on and on. You've seen some of the data I've been sending you. They're missing garages. They're missing structures in plain sight.
Mr. Chen, I think we got the point.
So, well, you get the point. What are you going to do to change it?
Well, that's a very good question.
Because it's not changed in 7 years, and it's just going in circles, and it is deja vu.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. I think that you have some questions about zero-sum game. I think some of the questions have been asked already, and I'll give Mr. Arnold and Mr. Markowitz a chance to address them. Obviously, you raised some very, very serious and troubling questions about the inventory. And, we're probably I'm going to have to get somebody in to fact-check the inventory. It's absolutely essential that the inventory be credible. So I'm going to have somebody come in and fact-check the inventory, and I will make a commitment to you and every constituent in the town of Rye that we're going to do that, because that's the only way to make it work. Unfortunately, you raised too many questions. It's fundamental that it be credible. I think it is credible. I think we went through the process early. I disagree. It's deja vu, but I need to get an independent party in here and a third-party person looking at the inventory to double-check, to fact-check it, because I'm hoping these are outliers that just happens to be in one section, but we need to make that absolutely clear to the public. So we're going to need to do that, and I'm going to make an absolute commitment to everybody in this community that we're going to do that. Please. Yeah.
Because Mr. Sanders, I was following your comment.
Paul, would you go up to the...
Well, it's relative to what Dean was raising, because I just wanted to clarify. The spreadsheet you're working on, I've seen some of your work. You said the data's there, but they're not looking at it. I mean,
exactly.
Okay, so
100%.
Okay, so but then the data does exist, and I don't think
I'm getting it from.
Right. So the town didn't, as far as I know, the town didn't.
I'm not getting paid to get it.
No, not yet. But the town didn't destroy data. It's there, and you found it, because if you can find it, they can find it, and that. So I think
I'm finding it from my home.
Right. So what I'm saying is that I think one of the issues is that to at least address the question, or the allegation that the town destroyed data. The town did not do that.
I didn't look at it.
Right.
Okay, it's there, but someone's not looking at it. I think that's a very fair question. That's something,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just wanted to,
Please.
listening to his comments about the data, it's there. The town didn't destroy whatever John Watch did or didn't do. I mean,
no,
it's there.
They didn't keep.
Well, they didn't keep the mailers, I think, is what we're saying.
The mailers.
We have the data. I don't think we have the mailers.
He got his data from. He got it mostly from the historical
property cards.
Okay, but I
Which are
think
still available, I
the
guess.
bottom line is,
Property cards are
okay,
still
Mr. Noto.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks.
So, again, thank you for your input, and we are going to make a commitment to double-check the inventory. I think they pretty much addressed if you want to address, I think the one thing that I do think is a new question is the zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Could you just answer that question about the zero-sum game?
And why land doesn't matter. That was the other big one.
Well, I would...
Mr. Markowitz is public.
Okay, so let me just concur with Mr. Markowitz that, the more important of the two is to get the overall valuation right, and I think that may be what he was saying. If you don't want to make a mistake on the overall valuation. Quite frankly, I again disagree with you, Mayor Feinstein. At least on the properties I looked at, which I didn't look at Scott's, on Hillendale, all the properties I looked at was about 7 or 8. And I think you're the same way, Mr. Stanton. 25% of the value is land, 75% of the value is buildings. So that's as a ballpark figure. But we'll look at that. So I think that what's important is to get the overall assessment right.
A lot of them are 50-50, actually.
Is yours 50-50 as well? Okay.
I'm looking at the data right here.
All right. In any case, so anyway, I'll let you answer the question about land value versus overall value, and then the zero-sum game.
Okay. Taking the land value issue, what I said to Mr. Stanton is land value is not disputable. It's part of the overall value. Each and every person is taxed based upon their total value, plain and simple. Okay. Moving on to the zero-sum game question. My first point would be that over the past 4 years, each and every year, assessments have declined. I don't really think the zero-sum game is a fair characterization of what the town has done, because we've lowered assessments each and every year following the marketplace. I do want to comment on taxation. because the assessments are simply a way of equitably distributing the tax levy. Let's understand who are the taxing jurisdictions here. Number one is the school district. Number two is the village. Number three is the county, and finally followed by the town. We're just an agent of all these taxing jurisdictions. They tell us how much to collect. That's what we collect.
You don't have to collect it.
Well, always, Dean, please.
Come on, let's not.
No.
There's a collector, actually. Go ahead, Mr. Marcus.
Okay, so everybody's got to understand and recognize the reality. We've lowered assessments every year, and everybody's taxes have still gone up. It is a zero-sum game in the sense that the town is required to collect taxes for each of its jurisdictions. We simply distribute that tax load.
I'm talking about...
Okay, so other
Well,
Mr. Abel.
You're not answering the question.
Mr. Abel.
Answer the
Mr. Abel. Mr. Abel.
I'd just like to say that obviously there's lots of concern. There's lots of good input and lots of interesting topics and things that need to be looked at that you've all recognized. But the real question comes, you're going to have meetings tomorrow afternoon, but can the role even be changed at this point? Because the only way the role can change, I don't know, do you have the power to change the role?
Board of Assessment Review.
But you have to have already filed.
That's correct.
So anybody who's watching this or listening or whatever, it doesn't matter to them unless they've already filed with the bar. And how many bar filings were there? 700?
750.
Okay. So those are the only people that really it matters to, because everybody else, the 10,300 and whatever, are stuck with the role they have. So what's the problem now is that this was, great ideas. Hopefully they'll be implemented in the future, but they really mean nothing except to the 750 people at the bar. And I think that's the most troubling thing to me, is that the comments made here and the problems that have been done, nothing can change for at least a year. Okay? And that's what bothers me.
I don't think that's actually correct. If we find data that's proven to be mistaken, right, that led to an overvaluation of a home, can't you recommend to the Board of Assessment Review that be changed, given the error?
Don't you have to file a suit?
They have to have filed with the Board.
No, I'm saying you. If you find out, let's assume you find out that you had 4 swimming pools on a particular property and you discover that there were none, can you do anything? Can you make a recommendation to the Board of Assessment Review?
Here, Mitchell.
Board of Assessment.
I think people need to hear this.
Well, the Board of Assessment Review can only respond to written complaints. Okay? It's just
So you can't, if you find out you've made a mistake, you can't make a recommendation to the Board of Assessment Review?
There's no standing at this point.
Unless they file.
Okay.
That's correct.
So, Mr. Supervisor and Board, great ideas, but no way to do anything about it. And that's the real sad part here tonight. I thank you very much for your concern and for having the meeting.
In January, we start the process all over again. So that's not to say that it's remember, this is a 12-month-a-year process. So you're right, and maybe that doesn't mean that all 500 are wrong.
I'm not arguing it. It's all you.
It's the lawyer. Yeah, you make it sound like it's fatal. The reality is this is a 12-month process. He does this again, and we do this every year. And they do, because we're a reval community, they send a letter out, and there's a process. So come January, if he found that there was an error, he would rectify that in next year's roll. So eventually it's going to get corrected. So it will be improved upon, and it's a constant process of improvement. For 4 years now, this has been going on and trying to make it better. So I wouldn't say that. Or 6 years, but I think the point is that it's not over even if you didn't file for the BAR. That's what I'm saying.
So, Mr. Noto, will you pay those people's taxes this year that are overassessed?
You don't know if they're overassessed.
Okay. So I have 2 other questions. One is MJW, if I remember, was 1.2 million or something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers. 1.9? Okay. And what was Vision Appraisal's data? How much did it cost the taxpayers?
$260,000.
Okay.
Over how many years?
No,
This is for 1 year, $360,000.
okay. And our assessment office, how many people work there, and how much do we pay for that whole function, yeah, that department?
I don't have that number on the top of my head. I know how many people do we have, Mitch?
5.
5.
Okay, and there's a total payroll.
Let me, if I may.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Actually, I want to let Mr. Abel ask all his questions.
Okay.
You finished your question? Okay. Okay.
Okay. Just to put that in perspective, the assessment office is responsible for much more than just simply determining people's property values. Okay, we have an assessment roll with 11,000 parcels. We have approximately 10,000 exemptions. We're responsible for administering all these exemptions. Each and every year, we're responsible for annually renewing in excess of 3,000 exemptions for star and senior citizens. Each year, every time there's a change in the ownership, we're required to terminate exemptions, send applications to the new owners, and determine eligibility of the new owners. So it's more than simply an assessment question. I mean, the reality is that a substantial portion of the staff is devoted to those kinds of activities. They're all mandated under the law. They require annual activities. We're required to notify everybody, and it goes on. And in this year in particular, the state of New York passed legislation limiting star exemptions for persons who have an income in excess of $500,000. What did that mean? We had to send out 1,000 requests in order to determine eligibility. Okay, over and above the normal workload. That's what the office does in addition to annual assessing.
Other questions from people who haven't had a second chance? No other questions? Okay. Basically, well, I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank you for helping us get this right. We're committed to getting it right. We will review every property record to make sure that we have the data reconnecting it. Oh, did you want to come out? Reconnecting with reconfirming that the historical data and the existing data are consistent. Mr. Sand, I encourage you to continue to send us if you're finding discrepancies, and encourage everybody in the community to find those discrepancies. In terms of the timing of the process, obviously we didn't have to have this meeting. I think part of it's explanation, part of it's educational. We're making the affordable reviews tomorrow available. We did inquire about delaying the grievance date. That's state mandated law, so there was no opportunity to do that. So I think that's a fair comment, a fair complaint, and we'll look to rectify that next year. So unless Councilman Gelfarb, any comments?
No
questions?
comments.
Okay, can I motion to bring this meeting to a close?
So moved.
Second.
Hope?
Gelfarb.
Aye.
Mendocino. Aye. Corbin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.